And to details, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said on Friday that the current conditions require collective efforts to contain the latest uncontrollable developments in the region, pointing out that the repercussions of such developments surpasses the right to self-defense. The President made these remarks as he received visiting British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. President el-Sisi urged concerted efforts for halting the Israeli escalation in Gaza, citing the deaths of about 4,000 Palestinians in the crisis. The President hailed U.S. President Joe Biden's efforts in coordination with Britain to open the Rafah border crossing and allow aid passage into the Gaza Strip. President el-Sisi also stressed the necessity of ensuring the continued aid flows to Palestinians in the war-torn Strip. For his part, the British Prime Minister lauded President el-Sisi's efforts for reviving the Middle East peace process with the aim of regaining their regional security and stability. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from French President Emmanuel Macron. The phone call discussed the latest military escalation in Gaza and efforts to contain the situation. The French President praised Egypt's efforts in this regard, especially its role to deliver humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The two leaders stressed the importance to ensure aid delivery to stop the deteriorating humanitarian situation there. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a phone call from Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The phone call discussed the coordination and consultation over the developments in Gaza. The two leaders discussed the current efforts to mobilize the international community for a unified position to achieve calm in Gaza Strip. Erdogan praised the Egyptian role, which coordinates the humanitarian efforts and boosts the path of peace. The two leaders reiterated the rejection of forced displacement of the Palestinians, stressing the importance of delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza. The two leaders also stressed the importance of ending the Palestinian-Israeli conflict based on the two-state solution. Egypt hosts on Saturday the International Cairo Summit for Peace on the recent escalation in Gaza. The summit, called for by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, brings together regional and international leaders and partners for discussing the latest developments of the Palestinian cause. In remarks ahead of the summit, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry said Egypt will be seeking to draw up an international consensus in line with international and humanitarian laws to decrease the ongoing military escalation in Gaza, reach a ceasefire and allow the access of humanitarian aid to the Strip. The top diplomat also reiterated Egypt's full rejection of forced evacuation of the Palestinians from their homeland and asserted Egypt's keen interest in opening the Rafah border crossing and deliver aid to the Strip. The official campaign of presidential candidate Abdel Fattah el-Sisi rejected in a statement the Israeli bombing on Gaza. Meanwhile, millions of people rallied on key streets and squares across Egypt in support for President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's stance regarding the crisis in Gaza. The demonstrators hailed President el-Sisi's hosting of a peace summit in Cairo on Saturday to reach a fair and comprehensive solution to the Palestinian cause in a way which preserves the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, on top of which is the establishment of an independent Palestinian state along the 1967 borderline with East Jerusalem as its capital. The protesters also supported the Egyptian state's absolute rejection for the forced evacuation of Palestinians from their homeland, which means a clearance of the Arabs' everlasting concern, the Palestinian cause. Meanwhile, the Dialogue Bloc joined the rallies as a delegation from the Artists Syndicate joined the protest at Rafah border crossing. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said on Friday that aid trucks need to move to Gaza as quickly as possible as he oversaw the aid shipments on the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing. Guterres expressed gratitude for Egypt's political leadership and people over the move, which provided hope for the Palestinian people in Gaza who are in dire need of the aid. The UN chief made these remarks as he addressed a press conference at Rafah border crossing, saying that the UN is working actively with Egypt, the United States and Israel to make sure that conditions for delivering aid are prepared. Egypt prepared the Rafah border crossing on Friday to allow the delivery of humanitarian and relief aid to Gaza as the Israeli occupation forces expanded military aggression on the Strip. Desperately needed international aid was ready to enter Gaza, with Palestinians in dire need of food and water after relentless bombing by the Israeli occupation forces. The United Nations says more than 1 million of Gaza's 2.4 million people have been displaced and that the humanitarian situation is worsening by the day, with no green light yet to send in the trucks lined up at the border. Medicine, water, purifiers and blankets were being unloaded at Al Arish airport near Gaza. Meanwhile, Hamas freed U.S. mother and daughter Judith and Natalie Renan from Gaza. The women who were taken from Nahal Oz Kibbutz near the Gaza border were on their way to a military base in central Israel. A summit of the Gulf